All right, first of all, welcome to Flatiron School. Um, Day one of, I don't know, a huge step in changing your careers. I guess for context, I actually myself was a Flatiron School student almost exactly 2 years ago. And then I've been teaching at Flatiron School ever since. So I was actually teaching on the New York campus, and ever since COVID hit, I've moved on to the online team. And so now I teach online cohorts such as yourselves. Lots of things to talk about. I know it can be very overwhelming with day one with all of these like messages and systems going on. But very quickly, I wanted to introduce the learning platform called Canvas to you all, as well as some Slack functionality. And then I'll talk about the things to look out for when you're setting up your environments, as well as I will put you all into working groups. So there will be, I think I put you guys into, I'll send this out in a little bit, but I put you guys into 5 working groups so that you all can ask each other questions. And I think that kind of cultivates like a classroom-like environment, which I'm really all about. Let's see if I can get the screen share working. Oh, and my name is Ish, by the way. I didn't start with that. All right. Does everybody see my screen? Awesome. All right, so this is, it probably looks a little bit different on your end, but this is our homeroom. It's what I linked at the top of Slack as well for easy access, but our homeroom is gonna have basically any important information. So I'll be updating these on a weekly basis. So here you can see I put some things to do before day one, some stuff for this week to come. So this will change on a weekly basis. I'll update with new information. Over here is our class calendar. It's a little bit messy, but here's some tricks that you can do to clean it up. On this, there's actually 4 different calendars. And the calendar that's most relevant to us is this online DS full-time 092820. So if you just untick everything else, these are the events that are most relevant to us, to our cohort. So as you can see, we have this event over here. If you click onto more details, it will open up and it'll show you the Zoom link and all of that. I'm a big Google Calendar user, as you can tell. So yeah, I highly recommend if you already are a Google Calendar user, you can actually add this calendar onto your Google Calendar, just so everything's integrated together. Other things about these other calendars, there's the holiday calendar. So this basically, if there's a holiday day, I think the next one coming up is Indigenous Peoples Day, which we are off for. So we're off this Monday. This will just show up in the calendar as well. 2 other calendars that are just other events that happen throughout Flatiron that you all have, you all can attend. Let me just make it a little cleaner. Yes, global events as well as remote community events. So these are 2 calendars that just have other events going on. So for example, today, actually right now, there is a session going on how to use the Spotify API. If you don't know what an API means right now, don't worry, you'll know in 3 weeks. But once in a while, there'll be these events going on just on like little extracurricular things. Not just that, but also things like alumni panels. So actually, this might be the first thing that's most relevant to you guys is there is an alumni panel happening on October the 6th, and these are graduates of the data science program. And so if you just like once in a while take a look at these calendars, you'll find events. And any that I see that I think are interesting and relevant, I'll flag to you all as well. So that's just to know how to navigate this calendar. I mostly just like this view, so it's cleaner. As you can see, I put the topic for whatever the topic is we're going through for study group that day, as well as on the top, I put the topics for the week that you should be working through. So I think I put in a summary as well. The other non-study group sessions that we'll be having are orientation tomorrow morning, as well as meet your classmates on Thursday morning. Any questions so far about this calendar?
Sorry, what are the study groups again?
That's a really good question. Yeah, so study groups you can sort of think of as like me lecturing, but they're not so much lectures. Basically, the expectation is that you will all be working through material on campus. So if anyone has gone to see phase 1 yet, you'll see that there are a bunch of topics. And so the rough pace for full-time courses is a topic per day. So basically this week we'll be working through topics 1, 2, and 3. And each study group will basically be me, one, answering questions about the topic and also going through the main points of the topic, which I think are important for you guys to remember. That's a great question. I totally did not clarify that at the start. It's a little hard having this session before orientation because I like always forget the things that I need to preface. But yeah.
Right, so then the study groups are just for like in case you have questions, or everybody should probably be attending the study groups every day?
I think everyone should be attending the study groups every day. It is a full-time course, so there's the expectation that, like, you know, it's, you kind of think of it as your job.
Mm-hmm.
If you can't make it, it's fine because all of them will be recorded and put on a YouTube playlist. But yeah, each study group will be per topic. And yeah, I think the expectation is that you attend. But of course, I know that life happens. So if for any reason you can't attend, that's fine.
How many times does it happen?
So the study groups for most weeks, it's 4 times a week, Tuesday through Friday. So if you take a look at this calendar, so this doesn't count. This is more of like a welcome environment setup. But you can see here, most of the weeks it happens Tuesdays through Thursdays, 2 to 3 p.m. And so it kind of depends on your learning style. I know different students do this differently. Some students like to get through all the material before study group. So study group becomes more of like a time to solidify that knowledge, to just like check that they know what they know. Some students like to do readings, not labs. So basically you'll see that there's a pattern in these labs. So for example, you can see that with introduction to variables, there's a reading, and the ones that are indented ones are labs. So the readings don't have any coding that you're required to do, and the labs basically you'll code along. So some students like to do all the readings first, attend study group, and then do the labs. It does take a couple weeks to get used to whatever workflow you choose. But yeah, I know there are also some students who like to go through study group first and then do all the labs. So it kind of depends on what you think works best for you. I understand that there are different kinds of people who learn differently. If you find that you like learning through lectures more, you might benefit from doing the study groups first. If you find yourself being someone who likes to learn through doing, you might do the labs first. It's kind of up to you. This is something that we can also figure out in one-on-ones in the first couple weeks. Questions about that? Cool. So since I just mentioned one-on-ones, every week you get about 1.5 one-on-ones, or yeah. So basically you'll get one one-on-one that you get to schedule by yourself, which is a half-hour session that you'll have with me. And this can be for a bunch of things. You can ask me questions. We can work through problems together. That's usually what most students use one-on-ones for. So that'll be once a week. And you can find my schedule link over here. If you want to have recurring one-on-ones, feel free to set that up. Usually how students set that up is you just pick one time now, and I'll just see if that's available for the rest of the rest of eternity on my calendar. And you can have that slot for the rest of the 20 weeks. So there's that. You get another one-on-one, which you'll do together with your working group. And so these working groups will shuffle every phase. So every 4 weeks, we'll shuffle these working groups. And so I'll actually send out our current working groups actually right after this. Does anyone have any questions on like the one-on-ones? So each of you technically get 2 one-on-ones, one individual that you'll schedule with me through this link, or a recurring one. And then another one-on-one that we'll do it as a group with whoever your working group is. That will be an hour long, and that you can choose to look at the scheduling link to see if I have any free slots, and then you can message me and they will set that up.
So I scheduled with Dara for tomorrow. So who is she?
So Dara actually will join us at our orientation tomorrow. So Dara is not a cohort lead. So I'm a cohort lead and I do like the technical stuff. Dara is more of like here for like emotional support, helping with dealing with stress, things like that. It's always a very good idea to schedule a meeting, Dara, and she'll introduce herself tomorrow as well.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Any questions so far? I know I'm about to throw like a lot of information.
Any technical issue, we contact you?
Yeah, that is right.
Okay.
That is right. Technical issues, contact me. You don't have to wait till 101 wants to ask me questions. I'm always going to be available on Slack and I will get to whatever questions you have in between my other 101s. So if you ever have questions, best to Slack me. Actually, best to post your question in the class Slack channel so you can help each other out. I'm good. With that said, I'm just gonna drop our working groups into our Slack channel. So let's do phase 1 working groups. And with these working groups, I think that the most effective way to use working groups is to like keep each other accountable. I like to create like a DM thread with everyone in your working group so that you could talk through whatever you're going through. If you have an issue, you would ask your working group first before coming to me, because hive mind, when you figure out a problem together a lot better than me telling you the answer. So I highly recommend that you use your working group. So for this first phase, I actually sorted you guys based on whether on that About Me survey you filled out whether you had a Mac or a PC, just because with the setting up the environment, that makes a difference. So if your operating system is different from what group you're under here, please let me know. So that's working groups. I will say, just to make things easier, the first person in each group will be in charge of creating this DM thread. So Ali, Taejun, Mel, Melody, and Matthew Andrews, because I think there's 2 Matthews.
I don't see the groups. There is.
Oh, I just posted them on Slack. Sorry. I just posted them on Slack. Yeah. All right. So I'll just have the first person in each group be in charge of creating this DM thread and introduce yourself to each other. There will be another session that you can meet your other classmates, but I think it's a really good idea to get the habit of classroom mentality, working with each other. Any questions about working groups? You can really use them however you want. I know some groups, it depends on definitely the way that you learn best, the way that you like to interact with people. But I've seen groups that are always on a Google Meet call, working through labs together. Sometimes they pair off. So yeah, it's kind of up to you how you want to use them.
So does working group have name?
Not really. They don't really have a name. You can name your group if you like.
Okay.
But these will shuffle every 4 weeks. Nice. Let's see if there's anything else that I wanted to talk about. Just really quickly, from your homeroom to get to your learning materials, you would just click on courses. I have way more courses because I have multiple cohorts, but you would just click on courses and then you would have phase 1. And yours should have a little FT for full-time 092820. And if you click on phase 1, you'll have all of your lessons there. So who here has tried or has started the setting up of the environment?
I've started.
Okay, nice. Yeah, that is pretty much the goal for today, to just set up your environment. I'm gonna go over very on a high level summary of what are the things that you're doing and also what exactly it is that you're doing. But I think that the instructions laid out in these lessons are pretty clear for the most part. Just I know that there's some terminology that can be a little bit confusing. So I wanted to go over the terminology. I guess before I start, has anyone who has started setting up their environment, has anyone hit any issues yet?
I mean, I have on a couple things I had to redo them, but I'm not sure exactly what the issues were I was having. I just
Okay,
kind of Googled it and ended up resolving it a
that's
little bit.
awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. Google is going to be your best friend throughout this program for sure. So yeah, if you run into an error, if you end up Googling it and you can't find a solution, usually what I'd ask you to do is screenshot like the error message or whatever output it is, and just like send it over to me and I can maybe help figure it out. So no one has faced any issues with this setting up?
It's
Awesome.
just starting, so I don't know if there is any.
No worries, no worries. I think, so we've recently actually like gone over these again for like all the newer operating systems. So it should be fine. But if you run into any error messages that like look weird, usually if you see like red text, just let me know. Or let your working groups know, maybe they've seen it before as well. But yeah, for the rest of this session, I just wanted to really go over some of the terminology that might look kind of foreign, just so that we know what we're actually installing on our computers. And then anytime that we have at the end of the hour, till the end of the hour, you can feel free to ask me questions. But we will have a fuller orientation tomorrow that will go over basically what this entire course is, what you signed up for, and more formally, what your week to week will look like. So first off, the first thing that we see here is that you're installing Git. So has anyone here by any chance used Git before? Kind of. So Git is basically version control software. You might have heard Git in conjunction with GitHub. So Git is the version control that you'll do on your local machine. And GitHub is kind of like the cloud where you store all that information. So all of you should have a GitHub account because I think that's how you even like start working on the Flatiron School stuff. All of you should have a GitHub account, and you can see here your repositories. That's just all your Git stuff, and I have a bunch of stuff here. One thing to quickly mention, and I will get more into this tomorrow. I'll get more into this tomorrow. But we actually have study group materials, which are notebooks and lesson materials that I will be going through during study groups. And all of that will be stored on GitHub. And where you access that is on your homeroom. If you scroll down, there's a link here that study group repo. So any like collection of files on a GitHub, on GitHub is called a repository, repo for short. So study group repo, you'll see that you have some study group materials here. And I'll organize them into phases as the lessons come along. So right now, you can see that there's a getting started notebook. Don't worry too much about this yet. I will walk through how you deal with this tomorrow. But just so you know, we will be working with GitHub. All your projects that you work on at the end of every phase will be on GitHub. So this is just, so you know, if anyone already has used GitHub before, you'll see this. But if you click into that link and click onto this notebook, this is basically the material that we'll go through tomorrow. Not important for now. What's important for now is this stuff. Any questions before I get into like weird terminology? Cool. So we talked about Git, which is a version control system. It tracks changes and helps you coordinate code. So for your projects, some of our projects will be done in pairs. And so GitHub is actually, Git and GitHub are actually really great for collaborating. You can be working on something, your partner can be working on something, and then you can basically combine that. Think of it as like Google Docs for code. And so we'll be using that for our projects as well. You were all also asked to download Anaconda. And Anaconda basically is a package management system. So packages include things like NumPy, Pandas, Matplotlib. Don't know if you've seen this in like that bootcamp prep. If you haven't, no worries. We'll get to them next week. But yeah, Anaconda basically is a package management system. Whenever we need to install a new package, we would install it through Anaconda. And Anaconda basically helps your computer decide where to save all this information. So that's Anaconda. I just talked about Git and GitHub. There is Jupyter Notebooks. One thing that you should do to check if you installed everything correctly. Let me reshare my screen really quick. There we go. So we have my whole screen. One thing you can do to double check that everything works is if you open up your terminal or your Git bash, if you type in, let me clear this to make this bigger as well. If you type in Jupyter Notebook, a Jupyter Notebook window should automatically open. That's one thing you can do to check that everything was set up properly. And a Jupyter Notebook is basically, I think most of you had worked on Bootcamp Prep, and Bootcamp Prep basically had a bunch of embedded notebooks. And so I wonder what's in here. Yeah, so there's a bunch of code that I was working on. Things are organized in cells. You can run things cell by cell. Don't worry about this. This is not relevant to you guys right now, but just to show you that this is what a Jupyter Notebook is. And when we are working on Learn and on Canvas, our lessons on Canvas are all Jupyter Notebooks, which is different from Python files. And Python files we'll talk about sometime during phase 2, sorry. Any questions so far?
Are we supposed to have the same items on the top of the home screen that you had?
Like this stuff?
Yeah, I think there was like maybe one more back. I don't know.
Let's see.
I don't know, the first screen.
It doesn't really matter what comes up here.
Right.
What shows up on this screen here is really dependent on where you're launching your Jupyter Notebook.
Okay.
If that makes sense. But yeah, for the most part, Jupyter Notebooks for y'all will be used when going through my study group materials because your labs and lessons are actually all embedded Jupyter Notebooks on the learning platform. So all of your lessons here, for example, if you click onto one with variables, when you click load a lesson, you'll have like a little loading screen and it'll actually bring you to an online Jupyter Notebook. So we let this load. Sometimes it takes a bit. But yeah, this looks very similar, kind of similar, a lot neater than the one I showed you earlier. But this is a Jupyter Notebook. That is your lesson. And so you can just work on your lab like this.
So if that page loads, then we should be fine with how we installed it.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, so this is something that's good to know. This like platform that it's loaded up on is called Illumidesk, which is the software that allows us to embed Jupyter Notebooks in Canvas, our learning platform, just so y'all know. Several little things regarding Illumidesk. Sometimes the server connection might drop. Doesn't happen often. I hear it's like maybe like once a week it'll just drop. The only downside to that is if you're working on something and the server drops and you're still working on stuff, your stuff might not save. So just take note of that. For the most part, it auto saves like every minute or so. So you should be fine. But if you find that you're working on something and suddenly like it's gone, that could be why. Questions? Has anyone started working on this stuff? Okay, some like light shakes and nods. That's okay. There's no pressure to like get everything done today, for sure. The only thing to do today, I think, is to get through, just to get through like maybe running Jupyter Notebooks locally. I would say that's like a good checkpoint for today. But yeah, let me see if there's anything else. One other thing that you were asked to do, I think it's in this lab, is to create a virtual environment. Now, does anyone have any ideas of what a virtual environment is? I expect no one to know. It's okay.
Skip.
Yeah, so when you're working, so imagine you have a project and you use like NumPy, you use pandas in your project, you use matplotlib to create graphs in your project, and you have that project stored on GitHub. Imagine 2 years later, you want to work on that project again, but in those 2 years, maybe pandas went through a huge upgrade, which actually pandas recently did go through a massive upgrade. So a lot of old pandas functions don't work anymore. So imagine that happens. Now you have new pandas, but your project was in old pandas. One way that you could rerun your old project is by creating a virtual environment as you're creating the project. So having this virtual environment sort of freezes all the packages that you're using at a specific version. And this is really, really good for us for these virtual environments. I think we call it the learn environment. So the learn environment is great for us because packages are getting updated all the time, right? Python is a very, very new language. People are creating new things all the time and like are updating their packages like every few months. So in our learn environment, we have basically like made all the versions static such that when you're working in your learn environment, you won't have to deal with dependency issues. I think as we get used to using packages and such, it'll start to make a little bit more sense. All right, I think that was the last big like area of stuff that I wanted to cover in terms of like terminology here. So questions, anyone have any questions? It can be about setting up the environment. It could be about the course in general, although there will be orientation tomorrow. But happy to answer anything now. We have about half an hour to go.
Oh, so she's done. Okay.
So yeah, a really good thing to start with is the first people on your working groups to create like a DM channel so that you can start talking to each other. Introduce yourselves. I know we already did one round of introduction on our class channel, but I would say these should be the first people that you ask your questions to. Like, has anyone else faced this problem with this thing? That would be a really good place to start. And if like no one can figure it out, feel free to ping me.
I'm new to Slack and I don't think that I'm in the right place, or I don't know what I'm supposed to be looking at there. I'm not sure
Ooh,
that
yeah.
I'm on the right channel.
Yeah, I completely forgot to give a Slack information, a Slack like overview. All right, so this is Slack. Let me see if you're in here, Melody. Let's see, so members, Melody. I know that there's Mel, who is not Melody. So you should have received an email invitation to Slack. We can talk about it later and I'll help you figure it out.
Got it.
Okay.
Mine like went to trash when I first got it, so I had to look it up to find it. So that might have been where yours went.
Yikes. Okay.
I clear my trash out a lot, but I don't think I saw it there either.
All right. In that case, I will look up your email in here right after this and I'll get you back in. But basically Slack is where we'll be communicating for this entire course. So I will put out like, usually right before any study group or any meeting that we have, I'll like Slack out a Zoom link so that it's easier for everyone to get to. Any questions you have, I highly recommend you post into the channel so all your classmates can see and you can answer each other's questions. That's one thing about Slack. Most people here have done their introductions. Dara posted in here earlier asking for names, where you live, and your favorite foods. What I really like about Slack are these reactions. There are a lot of funny reactions here. I think it's just like a great, I don't know, community building thing. There's that. One more thing that we haven't done on Slack yet, there's karma. So there's Slack karma. I think if anyone has scrolled all the way to the top, you see that there's this karma app here in Slack. And basically, this is to like kind of encourage us to help each other out. Let's say you ask a question on Slack and someone answers your question. what you do is you just add the person and put 2 pluses, and it'll just give them karma points. Sound good? So that's like a cute little thing. It incentivizes us to help each other out. Not a competition at all, but it's just a fun thing to have on Slack. Any other questions? To make a DM group, all you have to do is on this direct messages panel, yours might look a little different, but on this direct messages panel, click the little plus button, and then you start typing the names of people. And if anyone has any trouble finding a specific teammate, let me know and I'll look it up as well.
Is there an app for Slack where we can just access from our phones and stuff?
Absolutely, there is a phone app for Slack. I believe the default for computer is actually in the browser, but there is a computer Slack app for Windows and Mac. I highly recommend that you get it just because, as you can see here, there are different channels. Slack is basically the way that Flatiron School does community, given that we have a lot of remote learning. After you graduate, there's an alumni channel. So I have the alumni channel right here. And on the alumni channel, you'll basically see things like job postings, which I haven't seen for a while, things like job postings, events that are going on, alumni channels, and it's just a good way to keep in touch. I think like one of the biggest draws of Flatiron School is the community. And you already have like a solid community of like about 20 of you here. But there is a much wider community out there. I think the data science program has been going on for over 2 years now, so there's a lot of alumni out there. And a lot of current students have been getting job opportunities, or at least interview opportunities from other Flatiron alums. So I think it's just a great network to tap on, which is why I just highly encourage get used to using Slack. And we can start with ourselves. Melody, I'll check your Slack in a little bit right after this. Any other questions on Slack? So the main 2 things we'll be really using is Slack to communicate and Canvas for our lessons.
Okay, so I had one more question.
Mm-hmm.
Earlier you mentioned that some people like to do the labs first and then the lecture or the readings. So my question is like, are the labs doable before the readings?
So it's like a different way of working. I know some people like to start working the labs and they'll just like, if there's anything that they can do, they will do. And once they hit like a blocker, they will then open up the reading to try and find the solution to that through the readings, if that makes sense.
Got you.
Yeah, that's just like a different strategy of working through material. It really depends on how you think you learn best. It does, for some people, take a little bit of trial and error. I personally like to do my readings first and then have my labs up actually right next to the solutions, because I learn by seeing other examples, which is actually a really good point. Finding solutions. Has anyone found the solutions to labs yet? All right, really quickly, solutions. That's super important. So let's say we click onto this lab here. Before you open it in a new window, there are a couple things here, a couple little symbols here. So this is a GitHub symbol. The GitHub symbol, the GitHub logo is an octopus cat, which is kind of cute. But this opens up where the lab actually lives on GitHub. So every lab is actually a GitHub repo. And it just embeds onto Illuminous so that you can work on it on your own. But anyways, if you click on that little octocat symbol, it brings you to the GitHub. And we'll talk about this more on Wednesday when we talk about Git and Bash, but these are branches. And most of the stuff that you see belongs on the master branch. And to get to the solutions, there's just a solutions branch. And as you can see here, there will be the solutions on the solutions branch. There is no shame in looking at solutions. I mainly learned how to code through looking at solutions. So completely okay if you feel like you need to work through that. One thing you make sure that you're not doing, you make sure that you're not just copying and pasting the code without, reading it to understand what's going on. One thing that I used to do is sometimes I'll copy over the solutions, and if it's taking me a while to get what's going on, I would actually write little comments next to the code saying what it is it's doing. So that's like just a different strategy of working through labs. And everyone sort of develops a different way of doing it. Cool. Any other questions? Awesome. Well, goals for today, basically to set up your environment, make sure that you go through, let's get to these phase 1. Oops. Make sure that we get through the first half of phase of topic 1. I would say after running your Jupyter notebooks locally, that's a good place to be for today. And if you want to get a head start, tomorrow's study group will be the rest of topic 1. And I'll just be going over the main Python data types and data structures. So if you want to familiarize yourself with that first, feel free to keep working. But yes, the next time we meet will be a more formal orientation session tomorrow morning. And before that, please set up your working groups. Any questions you have, feel free to Slack me. Yeah. Any final questions?
On the setup, I went into the setting up the professional data science environment for Mac, and then I wasn't able to access the Google Slides.
Oh, interesting. You mean
like
this
that
part?
slide? Yeah, it says you need access on my screen.
Interesting.
I saw that on my screen too.
Really? Okay, okay. I'm going to then open up these slides and just like Slack them over to the Slack channel. Cool. Thanks for flagging that to me. Cool. Anything else?
Excuse me, I still can't find our Slack group channel.
Okay, Ali, I will add you to the channel because I know you're on Slack.
Okay, thank you.
Let's see. Yeah, so Melody and Ali, I will add to this Slack channel. Ask questions?
Excuse me. So where you gonna post the video after you recording?
After this recording is uploaded to YouTube, I will post the recording on our Slack channel, but there's also going to be a YouTube playlist with every recording I'll do throughout the course. And that link to the YouTube recording is right over here in our homeroom down here. So there's a study group playlist, currently is empty, but as we get more recordings, everything that's ever recorded will be here.
Cool, thanks.
You're welcome. Cool. Without the structure of like a formal orientation, I know it's hard to like absorb all of the information I've just thrown out at y'all, but anything you need to clarify, I'm always available on Slack. Just I will get back to you guys in between one-on-ones. But yeah, if there are no final questions.
I have another question. How many topics we are going through every week?
So on average, 3 to 4. So this week, I mean, it does depend on like I know some weeks there are public holidays. Some weeks topics are longer, so I allocate like an extra day for those. And so you can sort of see how many topics per week in the calendar. So you can see here, this week it's topics 1, 2, and 3. Next week, 4 to 7. And I think I have it for the first 2 phases. So I would say refer to this. I would also put it in the weekly goals every week. So usually like either end of Friday or Monday morning, I'll update these. Cool. Oh, I guess one last thing to mention, my working hours are roughly 10 to 7 Eastern. So if you don't get a reply from me and you had messaged me outside those times, that is why. There are a couple technical coaches whose job it is to answer questions off hours. And so you'll start to see them popping in the Slack channels when you see them saying like, happy Monday at like 5 p.m. Those are the people you'll reach out to if you have questions after hours. And I will do like, once they pop up on the channel, I'll let you know who they are. Cool, awesome. Final questions? All right, well, welcome to Flatiron School. It is normal to feel overwhelmed by all of this stuff. Once again, a good place to get to is to like run your Jupyter Notebook locally by the end of today. And if you have issues with that, consult your working group and then ask me if there are any further questions. But in that case, I hope you all have a good rest of your day. I will see you all tomorrow at orientation.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
You're welcome.